I did a video yesterday talking about how people were once again going after Chris Pratt, this time because he has a list of movies that he wants to share with his son. Probably his favorite movies. That's my guess. A couple of them are R-rated. And it's like, who hasn't watched movies like that when they were young? I watched R-rated movies when I was young. A lot of people did. But, you know, people on here saying, oh, he's such a Republican and all this stuff. Like going after him basically because he wants to share time with his son and pass on things that he enjoys with his son. For all accounts, it seems like Chris Pratt's actually a pretty good father. Everything that I've heard him talk about in interviews and the way he talks about his children, it's pretty clear the guy loves his children, which, of course, for some of these people that don't have fathers, I'm sure that they're quite jealous of that. I think they're jealous about a lot of the things with the man. It's just weird the way they go after him. It's really strange. So I saw this today, and I thought this was a pretty interesting interview. This is from Men's Health. I'm not going to go over the whole thing because it's very, very long. It goes over his eating habits and how he got, you know, the size he is, because if you remember the guy from Parks and Recreation, he's a lot different now than he was then. But he talks about the mob coming after him and how it affects him, and I thought it was pretty interesting. So we're going to take a look at that and talk about it. So he also addresses some of the stuff on why people come after him. So let's read through this. There is a meta-narrative hanging over today's conversation, and it stems from one of the dumber internet memes. The worst Chris. You've seen this, yeah? It went viral and resurfaces periodically on Twitter, with fans debating the merits of the superhuman Hollywood Chris's, Pratt, Hemsworth, Evans, and Pine. So that's a meme, and it usually goes on Twitter as Best Chris, and usually it's an opportunity for everybody on Twitter to go after Chris Pratt. Mind you, most of the people that go after him probably have mental disorders. I saw this on Tim Pool the other day. White liberals more likely to have a mental health condition. And I was thinking, did we really need an article to tell us this? Most of them go to college and are taught the entire time they're there to hate themselves. So this doesn't blow me away. But it's still kind of interesting, nonetheless, to talk about. It's an older article. It's from April 22nd. I just wanted to insert this into this conversation because most of Twitter, most of the people on that drive Twitter, it's like 10% of the platform, and it's mostly the far left that drives it, and all of them are crazy. They tweet hundreds of times a day. I've talked about this a lot, but I just wanted to put this in here. These are most likely the people that are obsessed with this man and trying to destroy him. But anyway, says James Gunn, director of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, it absolutely infuriates me. Chris is unspeakably kind to people. He goes out of his way to help kids, and he's an especially loving father. And there's a lot of stuff that people have literally just made up about him, about his politics, about who he is, and about what he believes of other people. Colin Trevorrow, the director of the two Jurassic World films, and maybe the third one, I'm not sure if he directed that one or not, echoes the point, I don't know why we treat each other this way. So here's the rest of it, where Pratt addresses why he thinks this is happening to him. So the first part is the interviewer. And the interviewer thinks that the reason why a lot of these people hate him is because they're jealous. Basically that he used to look kind of fat when he was on Parks and Recreation, and he was like a regular everyman, and then he went to the gym and beefed up, and now he's like an action star. Kind of the same way that when Adele lost weight, people went after her. Do you remember that? I've done videos on that, and I suggest you check them out because they're pretty revealing. But people are actually mad at her for losing weight. It's pretty sick. And he thinks it's the same thing with Adele. Now, what Chris Pratt thinks is a little bit different. And he says, a few years ago, he explains that he was asked to give a speech at the MTV Movie and TV Awards. He was getting the Generation Award. And he went up there and said, as his acceptance speech, God is real, God loves you, God wants the best for you. He also said, don't be a turd. But people mostly remember the God part. Maybe it was the hubris for me to stand up on the stage and say the things that I said. I'm not sure I touched anybody, he offers. And he gets why people were put off. Religion has been oppressive as F for a long time. He says, as we walk over a tiny footbridge, the words spilling out in an emotional tidal wave. I didn't know that I would become the face of religion when really I'm not a religious person. I think there's a distinction between being religious and adhering to the customs created by man, oftentimes appropriating the all reserved for who I believe is a very real God, and using it to control people, to take money from people, to abuse children, to steal land, to justify hatred, whatever it is. The evil that's in the heart of every single man has gloomed on to the back of religion and come along for the ride. Say what you will about Pratt, but these are big ideas he's openly wrestling with, and it's something I can't imagine another celebrity in his shoes saying. The situation wasn't helped by Pratt's alleged association with the celebrity church Hillsong. This is the church that Elliot Page came out and tried to say that Chris Pratt was going to, and that he was anti certain group way of thinking person, which was not true, and caused him a lot of grief. Defamed him, actually. It was a really shitty thing to do. So he issued a statement at the time saying, it has recently been suggested that I belong to a church that hates a certain group of people. Nothing can be further from the truth. I am a man who believes that everyone is entitled to love who they want, free from the judgment of their fellow man. What he didn't say then, and what he tells me now, is I never went to Hillsong. I've never actually been to Hillsong. I don't know anyone from that church. Okay, why not say that at the time? And he says, I'm not going to throw a church under the bus, he replies, before reconsidering. If it's like the Westboro Baptist Church, that's different. No one's suggesting that. But he could have, read up on Hillsong. Pratt tells me he attends Zoe Church. But I'm not sure the distinction will satisfy his critics. Zoe, also popular with celebrities like Justin and Hailey Bieber, was also founded by the same guy who runs that other church. And I think it's Chad Veck. And that seems to be the reason why they're associating him with that other one. I don't know. But it's still he's never been to that church they're talking about. What I also wanted to talk about here was his thoughts on Twitter. And I think there's something interesting here where he talks about how it affects him, because these people go after his son all the time. They say things about his son constantly, which I think is really messed up. And it should be off limits, but nothing's off limits to these people, because they constantly want to take the way they feel about themselves out on other people. It's like that old saying, misery loves company. That's the reason why. So this was about the time when he was talking about how he was just happy that his son was, not his son, but his daughter was healthy. And they were taking it as a shot at his ex-wife and his son, who was born premature, so he has some issues. But if you've ever heard the stories about him and his son, it's very obvious that he cares about his son, and it's disgusting what people will say about him. But one part of the interview I like is that the interviewer points out here that none of that noise has hurt his box office or his reputation in town. So all these Twitter weirdos that go after him, they have no effect on his career whatsoever. I've always found that kind of hilarious. They can't do anything to him, and it's almost like they're mad that they can't cancel him. So here's what he has to say about that. And I've always thought this was really messed up. So he talks about it right here. He says, they went after my wife and my daughter. said, I said something like, find someone who looks at you the way my wife looks at me. And then I gave her some shit in the thing and said, but I love you. I'm so thankful for my wife. She gave me a beautiful, healthy daughter. And then a bunch of articles came out and said, that's so cringeworthy. I can't believe Chris Pratt would thank her for a healthy daughter when his first child was born premature. That's such a dig at his ex-wife. And I'm like, this is effed up. My son's going to read that one day. He's 9, and it's etched in digital stone. It really effing bothered me, dude. I cried about it. I was like, I hate that these blessings in my life are, to the people close to me, a real burden. Which is really messed up. It's true. And he points out it's clear that he's in love with his kids. Like, and that's a really good point. Like, his son's going to read that someday. And, like, look at him. When he didn't mean anything like that. A lot of these people that comment on other people's children don't have children. And it's like, there's so many complications that can happen. When your child is born and your child is healthy, you're very thankful for that. But, you know, a lot of these people don't understand that. And it's nasty. I hate when people go after other people's kids. I don't think you should do that. I think it's wrong. And they do it quite a bit. Like, he's obviously a really good dad. And it was really disgusting when they did that. And then you find out, like, yeah, you know, that it did bother him, and as it should. And the reason that it bothers him is because his son's going to read that one day. So this is a very interesting interview. It was a good read. Just Google men's health, how Chris Pratt became the people's Chris, and you'll find it. But it's a good insight to the Twitter pile-ons and how nasty these people can be and how it affects people. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.